It's been an interesting year for sneakers, not the typical year that you'd see in the last handful of years, but I'd argue that it's actually for the better. Instead of 1, 2, or 3 super hyped sneakers that everyone's calling the shoe of the year, there was actually a ton of really dope releases sprinkled through by all the major brands. So on a personal level, my sneaker pickups weren't entirely focused on 1 or 2 specific brands, and I tried to focus on more variety, but at the end of the day, New Balance is still one of my favorite sneaker brands. And even though I didn't go as hard on the brand as I did last year, for example, I still had a ton of really amazing New Balance pickups this year. And I know a lot of you guys were wondering, what are my top New Balance pickups of 2023? So here I am to film the video for you guys. And like I say in every single one of these videos that I film, this list is entirely based off of my opinion, so it makes sense why it's going to be completely different from your lists. So I encourage you guys to comment down below to let me know what were some of your favorite pickups of the year, and whether we agree or disagree. It's just great to have that discourse to talk about sneakers in this way. And one final thing before I kick off the list, this list consists of sneaker pickups in 2023 of shoes that released in 2023. So if I went back and picked up a shoe from 2021, unfortunately that would not qualify for this video. So enough said. Kicking off the list at number 20, we have the JJJJound collaboration on the 2002R in the Storm Blue colorway. It was a great year for JJJJound across all brands, and while this 2002R wasn't their marquee New Balance collab of the year, at the end of the day this pair was still pretty sought after, and it still retains that signature JJJJound look with its clean, simple design and the black New Balance end logo. Whether you want to say it's mostly because of the hype, or if you honestly believe that it's just a clean looking sneaker, this is one that I was happy to add to my collection nonetheless. Next up at number 19, we have the New Balance and Kith 1700 in this Rococo red colorway. This pair to me is kind of special because it represents Kith opening their first location in Canada, specifically in my home city of Toronto. And while the 1700 isn't necessarily my favorite silhouette when it comes to New Balance, and the fact that this was a made in Asia pair, which gave it more of a boxy look, what this shoe represents means so much more to me. And between this one and the marshmallow pair, this red colorway just pops, and it's so much more of like a Canadian colorway. That's why I was really happy to add this to my collection, on top of the fact that I'm just a big fan of Kith as a brand. Next up on the list at number 18, we have the Double Taps 990 V6. I know this pair has gotten a lot of hate because of this loud USA branding that's very obvious on the heel, but I think this is a really clean looking sneaker if you can ignore this USA badge on the side. The 990 V6 is arguably the brand's silhouette of the year. There were so many dope colorways and releases for this model, and what I like about this Double Taps release is that it's just a very clean, simple, very tonal colorway that goes with whatever you're wearing, and people that aren't that invested in New Balance won't really know that this is even a special release, which I guess you can argue is a good thing or a bad thing, but on a personal level, I just think this is a really clean looking pair, and it just shows that the collab doesn't need to be overly loud and in your face to work with whatever you're wearing. Moving on to number 17, we have the New Balance Stone Island 574 Legacy. These released earlier in the year, and while it doesn't have the same level of hype as the 991 V2 that released later on, I like this silhouette because not only is the 574 Legacy a really underrated silhouette, it feels like much more of a premium and beefed up version of a normal 574, but the color scheme in itself, it really reminds me of that classic New Balance Japan colorway, but New Balance was able to incorporate a ton of different materials like the ripstop, the shaggy suede, the reflective panels, and almost give it more of a militaristic vibe. So it's a great colorway with great materials and great quality, not much more that you could ask for. Next up at number 16, this pair shows that not every sneaker in this list has to be a collaboration. So this one is the 990 V2 in the brown and tan colorway. So these released early in 2023, and it was part of Teddy Santis' Made in USA collection. And while I personally didn't go as hard on Teddy Santis releases this year as compared to last year, this pair was easily one of the standouts from 2023. I love the colorway of the shoe. It's perfect for fall or winter and almost has like a gentleman pack vibe to it with the different tones of browns and tans. And almost all Teddy Santis New Balance releases were easily obtainable, this one included, which is a great thing for any New Balance fan that just wants an easily accessible pair with great materials, a great colorway, and close to zero hype surrounding it. So this is a classic example of that. Moving on to number 15, we have the Concepts New Balance 998 in the C-Note colorway. Back when I first started buying New Balances, the C-Notes and the 998 for that matter were hugely popular, and over the years, while the 998 didn't have the same level of hype and cachet as it once did, for those older fans of New Balance, the C-Note was often regarded as one of the most iconic New Balance releases of all time. So this year marked their anniversary, so Concepts brought these back, and while it wasn't exactly true to form as the OGs, it was close enough, meaning any fan of the C-Note was able to basically re-up on a brand new fresh pair. It's pretty wild to see the secondary market prices of this shoe, but just because a pair was heavily produced, to me at least, that doesn't make it a brick whatsoever. I'm super grateful that Concepts brought these back, because my OG pair, I honestly don't know how many years I have left in them, so when they eventually crumble, I have this pair ready to go to rock right away. Next up at number 14, we have the DTLR New Balance 990 V3 in this grayscale colorway. I know the 990 V3 has basically been retired this year, but this is one of the last great colorways that released of the silhouette. Yes, it's not loud and it's not bright or colorful, and I think every collection has space for a really clean black, gray, and white colored sneaker, and this is a perfect example of that. The colorway in itself, while it's not colorful, the way they did the color blocking, it still looks really aggressive and it's very head turning, and I think this is a great pair to kind of send off the 990 V3 until New Balance brings it back a few years down the road. At number 13, we have the Kith Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation New Balance 998 in this apricot colorway. This pair alongside the Chutney colorway, the two shoes that released together, they ushered in New Balance bringing back the 998. And I love how Kith and New Balance didn't play it safe with this colorway. It's a really unique mix of colors, but somehow it really works well. So this apricot pair is the brighter and more colorful pair of the two, and I think this is just such a great shoe to wear in the spring and summer, and it was a great way to bring back the 998 to the New Balance mainstream audience because many newer fans of the brand just weren't too familiar with the silhouette whatsoever. Moving on to number 12, we have the Aimé Leon Dore New Balance 1906R in this green colorway. The 1906R continues to be one of New Balance's most popular silhouettes. You see it across most stores in a ton of different colorways and materials, and I think the execution on this ALD collab was really solid. We have that signature ALD green with these cream tones, which matches the brand's aesthetic so well. And the 1906R, I've said this in all my reviews, it's an extremely comfortable sneaker, and we know how well green and cream tones go together, so even though there's nothing really premium about the materials, I think the colorway in itself allows it to be worn both dressed up and dressed down. At number 11 on my list, we have the Teddy Santis New Balance 990 V4 in this olive and incense colorway. This is another one of those non-collaboration shoes, but it's another perfect example of how a clean colorway can lead people to really want a shoe even though there's no secondary partner or collaborator attached to it. I know many people were drawing comparisons of this shoe to the JJJJound 990 V3, and while there is some similarities, I think there's something to be said about just a really clean and beautiful olive colored sneaker, which this shoe is. So we have the great made in USA materials, the colorway just speaks for itself, and New Balance has begun to roll out and really push the 990 V4. And for those who have tried a V4, you know how comfortable this sneaker is. So it checks off pretty much all the boxes, and I believe these were obtainable for heavy discounts throughout Black Friday and even throughout the year. So for anyone looking for a beautiful New Balance shoe for under retail, look no further. And now we're halfway through the list, landing at number 10. So my 10th favorite New Balance sneaker pickup of the year goes to the Carhartt Work in Progress 990 V6. This is probably a bit lower compared to most people's list. I know a lot of people were saying this is their New Balance pickup of the year or their top 3, and there's no right or wrong, but for me, I just thought I picked up 9 better pairs throughout the year. Still, on a positive note, this is a beautiful colorway, one that works so well in the fall and winter. And while there's nothing too innovative or special from a material standpoint, they were good quality but nothing really unique. I think the colorway in itself just screams Carhartt Work in Progress, and it's just another example of how good color blocking works so well on the 990 V6. Next up on the list at number 9, we have the Kith Madison Square Garden New York Knicks 990 V6. Like I said earlier, New Balance really has been pushing the 990 V6 silhouette, and while it didn't have the warmest of receptions when the initial leaked images landed on the internet, I think this year, if anything, has proven that the right colorways can make a 990 V6 extremely popular, especially given how comfortable this model is. So this triple collab with Kith and Madison Square Garden, released in 2 colorways, this one was easily and by far my favorite, with it adopting the colors of the New York Knicks. I know a lot of you may feel that cream colored shoes are just overdone, but the color blocking on this shoe was just so beautiful to me. I love the mix of the creams, the whites, and the grays, but then they slapped on these loud New York Knicks colors that really make it pop and stand out. So number 8 on my list goes to the Action Bronson 990 V6 in this lapis lazuli colorway. So I don't want to spend time talking about why I have this only at number 8. Fact of the matter is, again, I just have 7 pickups in the year that I have ranked over this. But in terms of the positives, like most people probably think, this is just a beautiful rendition of the 990 V6. It's a really funky, strange colorway, but somehow Action Bronson and New Balance have created an end result that's pretty cohesive when it's all said and done. So it's a unique colorway, but it's not one that people would look at and think that it's a strange looking sneaker. So these for sure, when it's all said and done, is going to be a future classic. Next up on the list at number 7, we have the Kith Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation New Balance 998 in this chutney colorway. So this is the second of the 2 pairs alongside the apricot pair that I had earlier on my list. And just like the apricot pair, these were also part of the relaunch of the New Balance 998. Of the 2 pairs though, I personally prefer this chutney colorway. I just love this red toe, and it works so well with the beige and the green hits on the back. It has a very strong fall vibe to it, and it kind of reminds me of a Thanksgiving dinner plate. And I really think this is a colorway that you can also dress up and dress down. It has a bit more of a sophisticated palette compared to the apricot pair, but at the same time, there's enough color variety on the shoe to make it unique and to make it a fun looking sneaker. Next up at number 6, we have the Stone Island 991 V2. So this Stone Island collaboration was the debut sneaker which introduced the 991 V2 to the world. The 991 V1 is an incredibly popular silhouette, but the fact that there's a lot of people saying that they prefer the V2 over the V1, that's a huge testament to the success of the design of this shoe. So the Stone Island collaboration at first glance, it's kind of a boring looking sneaker, but really the devil is in the details. The mesh that they use has a very unique, intricate look to it, and in real life the olive colored mesh actually stands out a lot more than it does in pictures. And the fact that I'm not normally huge on mostly black colored sneakers is again a testament to the success of this collaboration, and the fact that not only is the 991 V2 a more comfortable version of the 991, but the material choices and the colorway in itself, the end result is just a pair that's very discreet, very low key, and just a shoe that you can toss on if you don't want your shoes to visually be at least the star of the show. So now we're at my top 5 New Balance pickups of 2023, and capturing the tail end of that 5, at number 5 we have the New Balance 990 V6 in this mindful gray and bone colorway. Also known as the cream colorway, this is another one of those New Balance Teddy Santis Made in USA releases, which did not sell out right away. They're even marked down and available on a discounted price. So like I said in the 2 previous Teddy Santis New Balance releases, these general release colorways are just as nice as collaboration colorways, but the key point is they're readily available and oftentimes available for sale. So for this colorway, this is probably the first colorway of the 990 V6 that really had people talking and really had people excited to grab a pair. This pair goes without saying, it's super versatile, and I know this is a small thing, but having a gray outsole instead of a cream or white outsole, that's even better for me because you don't have to be paranoid about rocking these and stepping in poop or gum or anything like that. So it's a shoe that you can really keep, wear in your collection for years and years on end. I know there are some issues with durability of the outsole when it comes to the 990 V6, but so far so good. I've worn these a handful of times and no problems. Moving on to number 4 on the list, I have the size 990 V3 in this orange colorway. This is a pair that had a lot of people upset because it was released through Size UK, and I don't think the raffle was open to people in the States. So that kind of explains why the secondary market prices on this shoe are quite high. But luckily I'm in Canada and I was able to enter the raffle, and getting these in hand, honestly, these are such a beautiful colorway of the 990 V3. I know we've been flooded with so many 990 V3s in the past handful of years, but this pair really stands out even though there's no obvious size branding on the shoe. This is more of an exclusive colorway, but I think they really nailed it and they executed it so well. The tones of the shoe are beautiful, the materials are great as well, and even though people are kind of tired of cream colored shoes, the fact that the upper is predominantly this salmon or orangey red sort of tone, I think it works so well with the normal cream colored hits that the shoe has, like on the New Balance N logo. So it's a nice complementary color, and I love the end result of this shoe. So now we're at the top 3, and taking the bronze medal on my list is the JJJJound 991. So this pair, to many people, is one of the top sneaker releases of the year. And in many ways, I have to agree. Part of the reason, obviously, is because this is a JJJJound collaboration. So I know a lot of people are gonna say that this is just a boring colorway and they just slap on this black N and call it a day. But that's kind of JJJJound's aesthetic, and that's kind of what they've been doing ever since their first collaboration with New Balance. So this collaboration on the 991, we've seen this exact colorway a couple times in their past collabs, but the 991 has been getting a lot of love in the past year, and it's a silhouette that I've been buying for a few years now, so it's kind of exciting and kind of cool to see this 991 silhouette that normally sits on shelves get some more mainstream love and attention. This colorway is a very sleek and very clean colorway. They call it gray, but it's more of a beige brown sort of tone. But regardless, it's a pair that I've gotten complimented on when I wear these with people that aren't sneakerheads and don't even know what JJJJound is. So taking the silver medal, or number 2 on my list, is the Action Bronson 990 V6 in this Baklava colorway. This one is the first of the 2 990 V6s that Action Bronson dropped with New Balance this year. And this one is my favorite of the 2. And it's just one of those shoes that has really grown on me throughout the past year. As cliche as it sounds, when I first saw the product images of this shoe, I was not a fan, and I hate to be one of those guys, but once I got these, I reviewed it and I rocked them. Over time especially, I've really grown to love this shoe a lot. This colorway is just the strangest and the wildest colorway of a New Balance that I've seen in some time, especially on the 990 V6, where a lot of the colorways and collabs that we've gotten this year are more conservative looking. This Baklava colorway really ramps it up and takes it all the way to 110. It's such a random color combination, but sometimes you just need a shoe that really is the life of the party, and you really want your shoes to do the talking. This is definitely one of those shoes that can act that part. So now we're at number 1. And I don't know if you guys can guess what is my top New Balance pickup of the year. This is a release that kind of came out of nowhere, and then quickly after they released, I didn't really see too many people talking about it. But to me, not only did I love it from the moment I first saw the initial leaks online, but even to this day, this is just a colorway that's absolutely beautiful. And it's just a shame that it was so limited that more people couldn't have the chance to enjoy it. So, number 1 on my list goes to the Kith New Balance 993 from the Spring 101 drop in this peyote colorway. So whether I was looking at the shoe with a Kith filter or now in real life, this is just a beautiful New Balance sneaker, and it's all about the colorway. There's no Kith branding on this shoe, there's no special box or anything like that, and there's no backstory or inspiration behind this specific colorway. At the end of the day, this was just part of their Spring 2023 line, and it's just a colorway that works so well together. The greenish tones, the cream and the gray, it's such a quintessential spring and summer colorway. And the New Balance 993, even though it's a model that doesn't get released too often these days, it's definitely one of my favorites when it comes to comfort. So this is going to be an extremely comfortable shoe, one that looks really beautiful and stylish, and it's a very versatile and easy shoe to pull off pretty much any time of the year. So this is why this Kith 993 earns a spot on my list as number 1. So that breaks down my top 20 New Balance sneaker pickups of 2023. Again, feel free to disagree. I totally expect you guys to all disagree with my list. Let me know in the comment section down below, what are some of your favorite pickups of the year? And was there anything you kind of agreed on with my list? Leave those comments and let's talk about it. And as usual, if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. You can follow me on Instagram at esco8, follow me on X or Twitter at sean.go spelled out, and visit my website as well at seango.ca. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video. I will be filming and posting my top 20 general sneaker pickups of the year. So that includes all the brands, any sneaker that I bought that released in 2023. That's gonna be fair game. So stay tuned for that video that's coming up. And until next time, thank you for the love and support, and I'll catch you guys all in the next one.